I was 5 years old, and I remember waking up to a familiar sound and bright lights. The familiar sound was my mom and my dad arguing profusely. And then, before I knew it, my dad came into the room, bent down, told me he loved me, kissed me goodbye, and I never saw him again until I was 23. The years that followed that first abandonment were followed by more abandonment from my mom, as she drank herself into a trail of self-destruction, was emotionally unavailable for us, looking for love in all the wrong places, doing anything and everything she could to support 5 children and to be loved. She would even go as far as locking us into a room, all of us, and leaving us there for hours unfed and unsupervised, as she was out about town doing her thing. She finally settled on a guy who filled her heart with all sorts of false promises while physically abusing us, pulling me by the head of the hair, I should say, dragging me around the house until it was so pulled out it had to be cut into a boy's haircut style. And then there were times where we would be beaten with belt buckles or put in a corner and have to stand there army style, handcuffed to whoever we sinned with, brother or sister, and oftentimes shaming us in front of their friends, making us stand in the corner in front of their friends while they were partying it up with their friends. But the abuse didn't stop at physical. It bled into sexual abuse, and that went on for 7 years. 7 years of being physically, sexually abused with my sisters as well as my brothers. And the only reason it stopped is because my older sister finally found someone that would pay attention and listen, and we were taken from the home, taken out of the custody of my mom and my then stepdad. We were put in foster care, and I grew up in the system of foster care. As a result of choices of others, I lived my life full of guilt and shame. I entered each relationship full of fear that they would leave too, and often they did. With each broken relationship, I became rigid as a way to control my world and everyone in it. But I was in denial. I had no idea who I was. I had no way of feeling comfortable in my own skin, and I certainly didn't know how to feel happy because I was comfortable in chaos. I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. By the time I was 31, I was bulimic and then anorexic. I was a mom of a 12-year-old addict. I had been married and divorced twice. I had had 2 abortions, tried homosexuality for 6 months, been date raped twice, and used pain pills and cigarettes as a way of coping. That's when I finally began facing my past head on and learning and understanding that my past definitely was affecting my present, and definitely the direction I was headed was not good. I was in need of redemption. I needed a new ending to a story that was not going well. I needed to have a different ending, but the way I was going, it wasn't going to end well. At one time, after my second divorce, it probably was one of the lowest points in my life, but I'll never forget it. I had woken up to my tear-drenched pillow, and there was a voice I heard. And I was fairly new to the whole Christian thing in a sense, where I was deeply working in the Word of God. But I heard a voice and it said Isaiah 53:4. Well, I was mad. I was really angry with God, I'll be honest with you. And I ignored it. And it came again. And I thought, I don't want to hear you right now. I did what you told me to do, and he still left me. And the voice came again. I threw my covers off. I was so mad. I remember getting out of my bed and stomping downstairs and getting my Bible, and I had to go to the index because I didn't know who Isaiah was or where he was. And I looked it up in the index, and I went to the verse, and it said, surely he carries all of your tears. Surely he carries all of your pain. He dries all of your tears. At that moment, I knew that I was not alone. I knew that God was real. And I knew that no matter what happened, if I really did wind up divorced again, that he would never, ever leave me. The funny thing is a couple of weeks later, he gave me another verse that promised me that I would comfort others with the comfort I'd been given. After that, I have to tell you, God got a hold of me. God was in me, and my redemption story began. But I also need to share with you, it wasn't instantaneous. It wasn't like he said, be cured, all things are new. It's been a process. I spent 7 years in therapy, unlearning lies I had bought into and learning new truths. I spent a total of 12 years in what I refer to as my SOS, my season of singleness, where he and I just had such amazing time together every single morning. And he gave me visions and he gave me promises, and I began to abide in his word. And slowly but surely, the junk began to come out and be removed. Several years into my court reporting career was another moment that changed my life. I was having coffee with God in the morning. In fact, it's what I did every morning before heading off to the train where I had a ministry, a prayer ministry, and then going into court. And before I even got to my chair, there were all kinds of things I was doing, like doing exercise class with judges and fellow friends and packing lunches and teaching nutrition. But one day the Lord said, I'm going to take you off of work. I thought I was hearing Satan because I just moved into a brand new home. I thought, this can't be right. But that message kept being repeated. And I will be honest and tell you I fought it for just a little bit. But I will never forget the feeling when I finally relented and I said, okay, I'm jumping. I am gonna trust here. I'm gonna use blind faith and I'm gonna jump into your will and out of mine. Another pivotal thing that I wanna share with you is, I'll never forget when I got brave enough in that process when he did take me off of work and I relented and we were doing some spiritual heart surgery, if you will. I dared to ask him, God, why? Why didn't you stop the abuse? You could have. Why didn't you? And I remember him going through such lengths to teach me and show me the truth that, you know what? We're not his puppets. Everyone has free will, free choice. But the one thing that is for certain that I will go to my grave with is that every time I was abused, he wept. Every single time. It wasn't his will, but God has used it that I would comfort others with the comfort I've been given. Another promise he gave me along the redemptive journey. So my story is still ongoing, because he says that he who began a new work will be faithful to complete it until the time of Christ. But I want to leave you with something kind of cool that still blows me away. I've been happily married for 14 years. I was never ever going to do it again, but he blessed me with a man that truly, truly loves me, and I trust that. Thank you so very, very much for taking time to listen to a little bit of my story.